Hello everybody, I'm Catriona Morten. I'm a sensory motor psychotherapist, and today I'd like to talk to you about conflict. Something that most of us try and avoid like the plague. None of us want conflict, but it can be something that just has to be dealt with and comes up. But before I jump into that, if you're enjoying these videos, then please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, because it really helps us get a message out there to loads more of you. And just a quick note to just remind everybody that we now have a members only area. And in that we'll be putting out exclusive videos, some longer videos, different kinds of content, a lot of resources, things that won't be available on our main channel. And they'll be going out monthly. If you're interested, then head to our profile, hit join, and I look forward to seeing you there as well. Okay, conflict. This is something that there's not many people I know that enjoy conflict. People with a history of trauma, attachment wounds, often absolutely dread it. They always assume it's going to go horribly badly. And that can be because they've witnessed conflict happening in a really destructive way. And either people have a propensity to go into conflict as the first line of defense, or they'll avoid it like the plague. And there's just certain elements to it that I think it's really worth kind of talking about and teasing out a little bit. If we find ourselves in a conflict, or we walk into a conflict situation, a way of conflict management can be not going in and just saying, okay, can everybody just calm down? That never works. That really ends badly, because you're not matching the emotions of what's going on. If you really want to try and bring a conflict down, you have to first of all go in and match the energy, match the tone of voice, match the fastness of the movements, so that you're actually entering that person's space. They feel like you're there with them. And from that place, once you've got them and you've matched them, they feel seen and validated, then you can start to just slowly bring your voice down, slowly bring your movements down a little bit, and hopefully you'll bring the person down with you to a more regulated, safe, free-thinking place, not so highly charged and emotional. And I think that's the main key to conflict. It's a highly charged, emotive interaction that you're going to be having. And if we react, if somebody's given us a poke, said something that just lands with us, if we then don't take note of that and just fire out an emotional response, then we're in that very highly charged place. We're probably out of our window, we're a bit offline, and nobody's really thinking and able to rationalise and observe what's going on. And that's when afterwards people have to apologise. I didn't mean it, I was really angry, I was really upset. We reacted from an emotional place, if at all possible. Which is why, a lot of anger management things say count to 10, count to 5. It's just to give you that opportunity to step back, to be aware of how that's landed on you, and to be able to think and observe what's going on, as opposed to just reacting in that moment. It's okay to take a moment to go, whoa, I really felt that, or poof, that's really shaking me a little bit. Often when we're in any kind of conflict, whether it's, just words or emotions are heightened, or if there's a lot of chaos going on, then we will do our absolute utmost to not appear shaken, to not appear vulnerable, and to not show that whatever's going on has really got to us. I try and teach people to have a slightly different view, and when I'm running groups, this is always a big thing. It's like, if you can have the strength to show your vulnerability, then it really is a strength. It's not a weakness. If someone says something and it really hurts, it really lands, then often it can be a very diffusing thing to say, God, that really hurt, that hit a raw spot, that hit a sore spot with me. And quite often, if the person has the availability for some empathy, then that can land with them. I didn't actually mean to hurt you in that way, to frighten you in that way. If the way they're coming across, if we can say, I'm finding this really intimidating right now, then it gives the other person the opportunity to take stock of what they're doing, how they're being intimidating, and just put it into check a little bit. It can give everybody the opportunity to just take things down a little bit. So I always say, don't be afraid to show what's actually going on with you, because it might alter the outcome. If we're just trying to hold it together and fight our own corner, then again, it's not really about what's going on in that moment. It's about our reactions to it. And often the discussion or the argument can take on a whole different, it's like, how did we get to that place? When actually it was about this. And how often when you ask people, oh, we got into an argument, we got into a fight, how did it start? The way it started and the way it finished can be absolutely miles apart. And it's often because of the things that then get thrown into it, other resentments that come through, things that we've been holding on to, often then come into the mix and take it as far away from the original source as it's possible to get. When we can learn to observe, it's a really, really good tool. And I know I talk about it in a lot of videos, but that's because it's such a good thing to be able to do. If I can observe what's happening in the moment and not just be in it and emotionally involved in it, it gives me an opportunity to see either what the other person is trying to do or trying not to do. What are they trying to hide, or what are they trying to project onto me? What kind of reaction are they looking for me? If I can learn to observe myself, and there's a lot of ways of practicing that. If we can just observe the way that we're breathing in this moment, observe what our body's doing, we're coming outside of just being and learn to really hone that skill. And when we can do that for ourselves, it just automatically comes online when we're interacting with other people. It gives us the opportunity to go, I wonder what's really going on here. I wonder what is lying behind this. What is this about? Because often it's not about me. It's about something else that's being played out. Learning to observe it in that moment means you're not involved in it, and you can ask questions, you can give some feedback, you can have a reflection on it, and just change the kind of trajectory of this thing building into a big crescendo. If we have a kind of ongoing conflict with someone, an ongoing beef, or somebody's doing something that's really annoying us, then often we'll build up a narrative about that. And when we build up a narrative that's often not based on fact, on what is actually going on, then we can very easily demonize the person. We can make all sorts of assumptions about what they're trying to do to us, when actually we don't really know the story often of what's going on. And so, when I hear someone's got an ongoing conflict with someone, a neighbour, a friend, something, it's like, what are you telling yourself about this person? What are you telling yourself about what is going on here? Is that based on absolute fact? And even if they say, yeah, because I've told so and everybody agrees with me, that's what it is. It's anecdotal. They're getting your version of what's happening. If we're going to try and resolve this, then try and leave behind these assumptions, this narrative that we've made up, so that we're actually seeing it for what it is. So that if we're going to have a discussion with someone, if we're going to say, okay, I've got to let them know how this is affecting me. Again, we always try and speak from the I position, not you are trying to The minute we go in with anything that's going to be perceived as an attack, the other person is probably going to put up a defense first and go, no, and then give another attack back. And then again, you'll get from, it's not about this, it's about all the stuff that gets thrown into the mix. When we're going to address something with someone, then it's really important, try and lay out some guidelines first of all, and be really as honest as you can with yourself about what you want them to hear. What is the message that you want them to hear? How are you going to project of how this is making you feel? And again, don't be afraid to show vulnerability. It's not a weakness. You know, when people are vulnerable to us, then we rarely go, oh, for God's sake, that's pathetic. We often have a huge amount of empathy and know, gosh, that must have taken real courage. And it can just alter the dynamic of what happens next and how we can resolve these things without it getting too heated and too emotional. We often dread things are going to be much worse than they actually are as well. So, you know, don't convince yourself it's going to be absolutely awful, it's going to end up like this. Stay in the moment and see what's actually happening. Observe what's going on in the moment and just take it for that present moment experience and not the demonizing narrative that you've made up in your head. The more awareness we can have of ourselves and the more we can acknowledge the impact that's had on us and how it's actually affecting us, the way we breathe, are our legs wobbly, is our vision going a bit blurry, whatever is happening, it's like, okay, when you can observe that, then it gives you a bit of a ding, 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 I'm dysregulated. Know how you can regulate yourself. How can you get your breath back? Do you need to just take a moment? Do you need to get your feet on the floor and get yourself a bit grounded? Do you need to just have a sense of yourself because you're super hyper aware of what the other person's doing and saying that you're getting lost? When we can both observe and regulate ourselves, then we're coming from a much calmer place, or at least being a little bit in control of things, and we're more likely to stay online, to have our thinking brain at our disposal, and not just be in a reactive offline kind of place. So I'm not pretending conflicts are easy. I'm not a big fan of conflict, but if I have to enter into something, then I will do it. Quite often it might come up in a tennis match. If I feel like somebody's calling all my shots out and they're in, or it's not being completely honest, then sometimes you just need to stop and go, can you just check that because it did look into me? Or, you know, can we just shout the score out really loudly every time so that we don't get lost? Just get them to second guess themselves. Just check and see how it is. Not projecting anything onto them, no matter how frustrated I might be feeling, but just trying to say it as it is. Always try and stick with the facts, what's actually going on right now. Not if you're being poked or all the stuff that's been said around it. Try and just always keep it back to what was the original point and not get lost in the chaos that can ensue. So if any of that sounds familiar, and if any of that sounds like they might be useful things to try, then just start the observing process. Just take some time out and say, okay, I'm going to start practicing this. How am I breathing? Don't be judgmental about it, be observing of it. What can I feel happening in my body right now? It hones your observer. It hones that kind of ability to say, oh, okay, so I'm in this, but what can I actually sense? What's going on? What can I notice? When you can learn to do that in here, it just translates itself much, much easier out there. So if you found this video helpful, useful, enjoyable, then please give us a like, subscribe to our channel. And if you want to have a look at the members area and join, then just press the join button and I'll see you then. And I'll see you back on the main channel very soon. Okay, bye.